of Learning Objective 1.3, suggesting objectives for a retail business. This one is about retail specific objectives, and where you see the retail workers, that's where you're going to get your help. Obviously, that's where you're going to get your help. So where are we going with this lesson, discussing the different types of retail specific objectives? Well, first of all, you're going to need to know what they are. Then you're going to look into organising how these retail specific objectives actually help the business. And then we're going to look at applying this new knowledge and look into analysing how retail specific objectives actually support the business performance. The vocabulary then for this particular lesson, we're looking at some extra words like after sales policy, in-store merchandising, marketing initiatives, IT stock control, market share, and one we've come across before is the SMART acronym: specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, and time relevant. So after sales policy is what you look into when customers have purchased their product, so it's the customer care afterwards. In-store merchandising is literally when you're walking around a retailer, what it looks like in store in terms of their branding, their posters, their signposts. Marketing initiatives, what are you putting in the display window, what are you putting in the doorway, what are you doing in terms of offers. IT stock control, think of Argos on that one. When you purchase something from Argos, or you go and type it in on their little machines, it'll tell you whether it's in stock. That's an IT-based stock control. And market share is what we were looking at in terms of lesson 4 and 5 of how much percentage of the whole market a company has. The criteria for this lesson then is for you to be able to quote 5 different retail specific objectives, that you can describe the link between retail specific objectives and how these objectives actually introduce new retail channels. That's one particular example we're going to focus on, and then explain how and why retail objectives can support business growth. And don't forget, in the blue box at the bottom, there's 3 more careers to focus on. The work list for retail specific objectives lesson 10. We've got categorising the retail specific objectives. That's very much going back to our previous lessons. There's a little bit of prior learning. Then we're going to apply it with the Jack's business. It's a case study. We're going to look into mission statements, and obviously we're going to use our school as a basis to understand a mission statement. And then task 4 will be a summary of the objectives, because we've actually covered 4 types now. And task 5 is our next case study. We've got a maths one on task 6 where you're actually calculating market share, and you're going to have a go at writing your own retail objectives for a real retailer of your choice. And then we're going to do a final reflection all the way back on lesson 1. So let's start with some detail. Retail specific objectives. Well, we've looked into the first, business, financial and social objectives, which can apply to any business, not just retail. Retailers may also have objectives that are specific to their retail industry. These retail specific objectives will often link with business, financial and social objectives, so they're a bit of a mixture. Here's an example. The introduction of a website will also increase sales revenue and hopefully profit. So we can see the introduction of a website is opening up a new channel, so we're looking at multi-channel. And then we've got increasing sales revenue and profit, which is financial. Or another one, the development of an after-sales policy should help the retailer keep customers happy and help them to maintain their market share. So after-sales policy is that new phrase we've come across, which is now all about customer care after they've purchased a product. And this one is purely about customer satisfaction, but it's keeping customers happy to help maintain market share. So we've got a financial one as well here, or maybe even growth, because we're looking at growing market share. So here's task 1. Here you've got a table with 9 retail specific objectives. Introducing an additional service such as click and collect or a home delivery service. Developing an after sales policy. Improving in-store merchandising. Now merchandising is things like the way the shelves are labelled, the way the signposts are saying what is in each aisle, the way the promotions are on the end of the aisle, the way the actual shelves look, what's in the doorway, what's on the shelves as soon as you walk in the doorway, what's on the entrance to the doorway, what's in the windows, what's on the window, all of it basically is merchandising. Introducing a multi-channel approach by starting a website to accompany the physical store. Well, that's what we've covered on the last slide. That's our introduction. Training staff to improve their product knowledge. Now that one does have one of the objectives we've covered. So just think about who benefits when staff know more about their products. Renting store space for concessions. So think about what that can offer a retailer. Introducing marketing initiatives to increase sales. Now, a marketing initiative is things like offering a 2-for-1, offering a sale, offering a clearance sale, offering tasters, offering demonstrations. Number 8, changing suppliers to improve the quality of products sold. Now, that could be that there's been some complaints, so they need to improve it. They've done customer satisfaction. Oh, I think I've given that one away. And last one, replacing the manual stock control with IT systems. Now, the easiest one to think of, as mentioned on our introduction, is about Argos, because they use it already, where you can type in a reference number to a product and it tells you whether it's in stock or not. Now, not everyone needs to be Argos, but that stock control is something that you'll understand in order to think, well, who else could do that, or where else could it work? Your task then. You need to complete the table in the right-hand column. You need to look through those 9 objectives again, and you're going to decide whether they are customer service related, they are introducing new retail channels related, they're about widening the product range, improving the business as a whole, or boosting sales. Now, all you need to do is write the little shorthand codes which are at the top in the orange heading of the table. Task 2. Jack Howells is the owner of a small DIY store located on the outskirts of Bristol. We'll have Bristol for today. His shops sell a small range of DIY products including hand tools, electrical supplies and tools, paint, decoration, bathroom accessories, plumbing, power tools and garden products. Jack started the business 6 years ago and does not have a website. His store is very cluttered and often customers cannot find what they are looking for. Customers enjoy chatting with Jack and taking advantage of Jack's extensive knowledge of his products and DIY projects. At times, customers who visit the store are frustrated with the products they want not being in stock. Jack has many loyal repeat customers, but finds it difficult to attract new customers, especially younger ones aged 25 to 35. Jack is keen to grow his business, but is unsure how to do this. Your task is to suggest and explain 3 retail-specific objectives that Jack could use to grow his business. So flick back to the last slide, look at the 3 that are most relevant to Jack, and you can use them in the box here, but you need to explain why they are relevant to Jack. So you're going to have to use the case study information. Many retailers will summarise their aims and objectives in a short statement. This is called its mission or vision statement. This statement will also refer to the retailer's strategy, which is made up of a number of actions and policies in order to achieve its aims and objectives. These are things we've covered before. Remember Gorm the gorilla. Large-scale limited businesses and multinational retailers will publish their strategy or mission statement on their website. However, for many small-scale and independent retailers, the strategy may not be written down. It might just be in the head of the owner or the owners. Now, when we start to interview businesses, you'll find all these formal words, especially the small businesses, that they won't have. So it's very much they're covering everything that we're expecting and covering in our business studies lessons, but these smaller independent business owners have got it all in their head without all the formal words. Task 3. What is the mission statement, the vision for our school? You're probably going to go on the website, have a look at that, or let's find out by asking one of the senior leaders, or maybe if you can track down a head teacher. Task 3. Write your own summary of what these objectives mean. So that we are going to go back over lessons 1 to 8. These are the business, financial, social, and this lesson, the retail specific objectives. So it's about you writing a summary of what each of these objectives means. For example, the business objectives are all about the things the retailer wants to do to improve how the business runs as a whole. Now you can write that in your own words and then you can do the other three. Right, here's the next case study. Now next is the multinational clothing retailer, and this is taken from the Next website. So this is actually Next speaking. The primary financial objective of the Next group is to deliver long-term returns to shareholders through a combination of sustainable growth in earnings per share and payment of cash dividends. Dividends are what the shareholder receives as a percentage of the profit. Next believes that this objective is best achieved by continuation of the following strategies. So let's have a look at these. Number 1, improving and developing Next product ranges, success in which is measured by sales performance. Number 2, profitably increasing retail selling space. New store appraisals must meet demanding financial criteria before the investment is made, and success is measured by achieved profit contribution and return on capital against appraised targets. Let's explore what these two mean. The first one, improving and developing the product ranges. So more products, and they measure the success of these increased products by the amount of sales. The second one, profitably increasing their selling space. So in order to get a new store approved, they've got financial criteria to make sure that they have got financial decisions before they actually make the investment in order to pay for the new store. And the success of this new store is measured by the profit contribution, how much profit the new store makes, and the return on the capital. That means the return on the amount of money they make, the amount of money on the investment they make, which is all tied up in targets, i.e. the new store has to have a target of, you've got to achieve X amount of profit. From the X amount of profit, that then is the return on the percentage return on the investment that their head office has made for the new store. Objective number 3, increasing the number of profitable Next directory customers and their spend both in the UK and through international online sales. Number 4, managing gross and net margins through efficient product sourcing, stock management and cost control. I'm sure you're asking what these mean. So number 3, increasing the number of profitable Next directory customers. Now Next usually charge for their directory, their catalogue, so that's one side to it. It's not all usually distributed free. They want a profitable Next directory customer, i.e. someone who regularly uses it and regularly purchases from it. And as you can see, the Next directory is in the UK and abroad. Objective number 4, managing gross and net margins. Right, what this means is where you've got the profit that's made before the costs are deducted, that's gross, and the net margins are the cost. You've got the sales of the product, you've taken away the cost of the product, and then you've paid all the bills, i.e. the electricity, the staff salaries, and then whatever's left is called the net profit. So that's gross and net, and we're looking at making sure these are profitable because you're finding your products from decent suppliers, which is product sourcing. You're managing your stocks, you're not having too much and too little in your stock room, and you're keeping your costs under control. Number 5, focusing on customer service and satisfaction levels in both retail stores and directory. And number 6, maintaining the group's financial strength through an efficient balance sheet and secure financing structure. So let's look at what they mean. Focusing on customer service and satisfaction levels, straightforward. They want to keep customers happy in store and on the directory. So that's in store and on their catalogue, which is their name for their directory. Maintaining the group's financial strength. So they make sure that they are profitable, they've got a high revenue, they make sure that they've got a decent gross profit line, so they're not paying too much for their products and they can pay their bills. So that in itself makes sure their balance sheet, which is the financial record, keeps their strength, and they all maintain this structure of their financial reporting. Objective number 7, generating and returning surplus cash to shareholders by way of share buybacks or, more recently, special dividends. Now what this means, it's all about the investors now. Generating and returning surplus cash, that means next to generating enough profit in order to pay their shareholders, which are normally in things like the dividends, which is a percentage of the profit, but they're looking at it in terms of share buybacks, which is literally what it says on the tin. Or more recently, they're saying they have special dividends. So where shareholders normally get their annual dividend, they're looking at an additional payment because Next are doing so well. So task 4 then, what is your task? Your task is easier than you think. There's not a heavy amount of writing. Is you're going to go through those 7 objectives, and you're going to decide whether they are business related, finance related, social objectives or retail specific objectives, and you're going to do that by putting these 4 shorthand codes in the right hand column. Task 5, we're still looking at the objectives, those 7 ones from Next, and now we're going to look at your words. You've hopefully listened to the explanations and you've now categorized them into business, finance, social objectives or retail specific. So now it's about you summarising each of those 7 into your own words in the green table below. When a retailer sets an objective, it is important that it can be used to measure the performance of the retailer at a later date. For that reason, all objectives should be specific, measurable and time specific. Here's some examples. Number 1, increasing profits by 10% over the next 12 months. Number 2, introducing a website by July 2020. And number 3, reducing costs by 5% by the end of 2020. All these objectives are specific as they refer to a particular aspect of the business, profits, website and costs. They are also measurable as the value has been given for 2 of them, 10% and 5%. Even though the website objective has no numerical value, it will also be measurable as it will either be working or not. You'll either see the website or you won't have the website, therefore you know whether you've achieved it. So task 6, we're going to look at the financial objectives, particularly one like number 1. We're going to look at calculating retail market share. So on the left we've got an example of the sales of trainers for shoes limited at £10,000. Their total market value is £120,000 for the whole shoe market. So 120,000, which is the whole market, divided by 10,000, which is just shoes limited, gives you 12. 100 divided by 12, because we're trying to find the percentage, is 8.33333. So their market share for shoes limited is 8.33. So that's a walkthrough of how to calculate market share. On the right, you will see the same calculation that you need to do for Phones Are You. Now the colour code is in there so you can follow the left-hand formula on your new case study there in order for you to complete task 6 and to complete the numbers on market share. All 3 objectives are time specific. As you can see, here's a copy of them. They all have to be achieved by a certain date. But it's worth considering the 4th condition because we didn't mention all of the SMART. We want a 4th condition for making sure we have an effective objective, and that is realistic. So if you remember Gorm, and there's little pictures of him, Gorm wanted to be a world famous musician. Was that realistic? So then, instead of being a world famous musician where he hadn't named the musical instrument, then he went through and did his SMART objectives, and he wants to reach grade 1 on the bagpipes, a realistic musical level, by the end of June. But being realistic is important in your targets. After all, can you imagine the suitability of an objective for a retailer that says increase profit by 50% by April 2020? Seriously, in the year 2020. Although this objective meets all the criteria, specific, measurable and time specific, it is also totally unrealistic to increase profits by this amount in this short period of time, let alone in this infamous year 2020. So task 7, now we're coming closer to the bit which is all about you using this information. You can select a retailer of your choice. It can be small scale or large scale, preferably local, but there you go. And if you're using a PC, add the logo to this slide as well. If you're not, you can either draw it or don't worry about the logo for your book. So task 7 is about you composing one financial objective, one business objective, one social objective, and one retail specific objective for the company of your choice. But the rules are you're not allowed to repeat the objectives given on the last slide. Your objectives must also be SMART, specific, measurable, time specific, and realistic. You'll be pleased to hear we're at the end of the lesson. This is task 8, and we're going to return to the first activity of the objectives lesson way back to lesson 1. The slides are there on the left to help you. List the 3 objectives you've set yourself this year. If you remember that, these may be based on your school progress or on any other aspect of your life. Okay, those are the ones that we looked at. Now we've been through all of this and you really get the idea of what SMART acronym means for a business. I'd like you to rewrite these objectives, making sure they really are SMART objectives in the box below. Done. You've completed your work list for retail specific objectives on lesson 10. You've covered all 8 of those tasks. Please do have a cheer, because not only have you completed learning objective 1.3, you have completed the whole of learning objective 1. Well done.